Markets this morning are higher. Take a look. We are looking at a gain in the triple digits. The Dow Industrial's up 173. The S&P is up 23. And the Nasdaq up 94. All three major indices were down yesterday about 1.5% on the session. OPEC is set to meet today as oil prices hit multi-year highs. The big story in markets is oil. Take a look. Brent and crude now well above $107 a barrel. Crude oil is at 107.81. That is up 4.25% right now. And Brent is at 109.48. That is up 4.33%. Joining me right now is Morgan Creek Capital Management CEO Mark Yusko. Also joining the conversation all morning long this morning is Fox Business's Dagan McDowell and The Hill's columnist and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Mark, great to have you back. Thanks very much for joining this conversation.
Good morning, Maria.
We appreciate it. Let me get your take on markets this morning and what will lead markets for 2022. Your reaction to what we're seeing this morning in the price of oil.
Look, we've been talking about oil together here for the last 6 months or so. There's been a lot of underinvestment in the U.S. really since the collapse in prices in 2014. And that finally came home to roost as kind of geopolitical conflicts rose. So, oil was given up for dead as an industry a year ago. A lot of focus on ESG, and oil prices since then have more than doubled. Oil stocks have been the best performers both last year and again this year. And, one of our bylines has been that FANG, Diamondback Energy, the ticker symbol FANG, is going to outperform FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and that has certainly been the case.
Yeah, and look, growth, of course, took a backseat to value in the last couple of months. Mark, I want to get your take where the leadership might be, given the inflation that we're seeing. Eurozone inflation hit a record high this morning. In the U.S., 10-year yield is now below 1.8%, and we are waiting on the Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell to testify on Capitol Hill today and tomorrow. This is going to be a main concern. What are you expecting from the Federal Reserve?
Look, I think the Fed is in a box, Maria. They've kind of put themselves in their own box over the past 13 years. We kept emergency stimulus far too long. That's why we have what appears to be inflation. I kind of have a nuance here in that most of the price increase over the past year is really oil and used car prices. There have been food prices, but that's not included in CPI. The real issue is devaluation of the currency. And it's the profligate spending post the lockdowns in 2020 and 2021. We've created half of all the U.S. dollars in the history of our republic in the last 2 years. When you do that, your currency devalues, and it devalues against other currencies around the world. And everybody says, oh, but Mark, the DXY is so strong last year. Well, it's because the Japanese and the Europeans weakened even more. Our currency was weaker against the renminbi. That's the real standard today, believe it or not. So I think the challenge is collapsing growth, right? GDP numbers now close to zero from the Atlanta Fed. And the Fed has no chance to raise 7 times, 5 times. I'd be shocked even if they go ahead with a raise here in March. No chance for 50 basis points. Maybe they try 25 to see if it craters markets. I think it probably would.
Wow, really interesting. So how do you allocate capital this year? I know we've talked a lot about Bitcoin. You have been right about Bitcoin. It's hovering around $44,000 this morning, 17% higher just in the last 2 days, Mark. You've been advising clients for some time now to add exposure to digital assets. But beyond that, how are you allocating capital? Are you still going for growth? And what does your portfolio look like this year?
Definitely decreasing growth as a value growth element in the portfolio, Maria. It's all about diversification. It's all about increasing flexibility, putting capital into high quality, low duration assets. We actually just launched an ETF called CSH to help investors find some yield at the short end of the curve using arbitrage. I think you need to be super diversified, own hard assets, things like gold, side by side with digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, Avalanche, and others. And if you think about times of stress, what you want to do in times of uncertainty is have broad diversification. You can super concentrate in the FANG stocks during ebullient liquidity, high growth. We don't have that right now. We have very low growth. We have concerns about inflation. We have concerns about geopolitics. Get very diversified, increase your cash or CSH holdings, and really look for value. We actually find beaten up tech stocks in China to be really attractive. That market got cremated last year. Those stocks have outperformed year to date. You always want to be recycling your capital after periods of ebullience into the cheapest assets.
All right, Mark, great to get your analysis. Always spot on. Good to see you this morning. Thank you.